Do we have an extra microphone for the audience?
We have one right here.
Okay, very good.
Oh, we
Thanks.
need it.
Hey, good evening. Okay, we're opening the meeting of the town board. Please rise for the pledge of the flag.
United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. Good evening. Now, even though we don't have anything on the agenda tonight for it, I know a lot of you are concerned about the SRO program. So I'm going to speak a little bit about it. We're going to have open question time. So if there needs any clarification or anything, but we'll start with that. Okay. So the SRO program is working beautifully. We have 4 officers in place. I've met them. They're absolutely heartfelt and wonderful and fully engaged with the students. And it's a wonderful program. For that reason, it was never off the table. So it is continuing on with those 4 officers. The only thing that we ever were discussing about whether or if we were going to be able to expand the program. So the 4 officers are definitely continuing. The expansion of the program will be discussed with the 2025 budget. Why do we have to wait? Very simple. We have to pay for it. It costs extra money. Right now, we're facing a budget problem because $4.1 million was not paid for. These are mandatory expenditures that should have been foreseen, were actually planned for in most cases. However, we're never budgeted for. So it's actually $4,119,000. Sorry if you can't hear me, let me know. Okay. Is that a little bit better? We could turn the volume up if you need it. Sure. Thank you. Is that better? Okay. We get a little bit of the echo, so sorry about that, but okay. So what was not paid for, but had been planned for a very long time were 2 engineering projects, both of which cost $1.25 million. They were mostly paid for grants, 95% paid for one and 85% paid for the other. However, with that comes a bill. Or is it the reverse? Anyway, between the 2 of them, the Main Street Bridge and the 3rd phase of the rail trail. Between them, 1.25 million. Equipment that was authorized by the previous supervisor, and it was ordered and actually arrived at the dealer. And then we found out that they had not budgeted for it. So specifically $935,000. So 2 large trucks. Now these are the really large trucks that are used as dump trucks, but also as snow plows. So they're the really big ones. So they're expensive. 2 trucks are $306,000. To equip them, they come with a package, and that includes what it makes it a big dump truck, if you can envision that, which is the big back box, and also the snow plow, and also the salting mechanism. So it comes with the whole package, and it cannot be used without it. So that package costs between the 2 trucks $500,000. And also a tractor, which is used, it's also multi-purpose, as are most of the equipment that the highway uses. So it actually is used to pump. So it's used to pump. I don't know exactly how it works, but that's what I'm informed. And then it's also used as a tractor as well. And then projects and equipment. Again, paving of roads. There was no real pavement of roads in the regular budget at all. The only thing that was included in the regular budget was the patchwork. No paving whatsoever, and that's a given every year. So this is one country road, and as many small streets as he can get to, but that's $1.5 million. If we don't do that rotation of road pavement, the roads will deteriorate and it will be much worse. A culvert. A culvert is basically a big drainage pipe, very expensive. Our engineer is fantastic, was able to get full funding for replacement of one culvert, but a second culvert costs $250,000. It's rotting out on the bottom of it. It has to be replaced. And so it is what it is. Building lighting, and that's in the highway department building. So the lighting has to be replaced. They work indoors, they work on the equipment, they do a lot of stuff inside, and it had to be upgraded, and that's $50,000. The extreme slope mower, two of our highway personnel got hurt trying to mow very steep inclines, which had to be mowed, and to prevent further injury to any other personnel. And thankfully not any serious injuries. This actually prevents it so that they will be safe while they were trying to do the same thing. That's $80,000. And then pavilion roof repair. And there are, I believe, 3 different areas in which the roofs are going to be repaired. If you don't do it and they deteriorate, it becomes much more expensive to try to fix it. And as you, I'm sure, are quite aware, our residents love the pavilions and use them frequently. Okay, so we are going to bond for that, about $4.1 million, just over that. We have no other option. Our reserves are at the minimum, which is about $3 million. We don't have any access, and we have to keep money for emergencies. God forbid there's another huge snowstorm that nobody wants to pay for, or if there's flooding, God forbid. But we just recently had in Twin Orchards, one of the pumps failed. And as anybody who lives or knows of Twin Orchards, they got devastated in both 2006 and especially in 2011. Without those pumps, it will be so much worse, even with just a heavy rain. So in going and looking at it and trying to repair that one pump, and there's 2 pumps in a pump station, they looked at the second one, and the second one is completely deteriorating. So the replacement of both of them is $65,000. We have to keep reserves. We have to keep some money in the bank because in case of emergency, and if nobody bails us out, we have to pay for stuff as we go. So therefore, we're going to have to bond for it. $4.1 million. In the past, and unfortunately, the town board saw it as a stopgap measure every single year or most years. They used it for capitals all the time. Not the best way of planning for sure. However, in fact, the New York State Controller said absolutely not the thing to do. However, now the interest rates are really high. It's just not pragmatic. It is so expensive to bond that with that 4.1 million, next year, the additional down payment on the debt, the additional payment is $409,000 and change. So that's every year for a lot of years. When you repay, like different parts are different amount of years, but trucks are paid for over 20 years. So you're paying on that for decades to come. So that's not just 1 year, that's every year. And then the old debt, the payment on the old debt for next year will be $1,183,000 and $83. And that was on the old debt. Much of which the bonding was at lower interest rates and just kind of built up. And most municipalities carry some debt, but when you add the new to the old, $1.5 million, almost 1 million, almost $600,000, and that's before we start paying for anything next year. So therein lies the problem. The town board always their first go-to was bonds. And again, when interest rates were really low, not the best way to do it, but they managed. However, with the high interest rates that we have now, it's unbelievably expensive to try to bond. Will we have to do it? Of course, but we have to do it seriously and with due consideration every time. And we have to plan for as much in the regular budget as possible. So every year we have to try to fit as much of those, what they call capitals, or those, equipment, things, equipment and all those things I just listed. We have to fit them or into the regular budget, or at least plan to pay for it. If we don't plan to pay for it, and we bond again, it's just going to keep building up and building up and building up. And in the interest rates that we're talking about right now, it's really not the way to go. So we're going to do the best that we can next year. And this year it is going to be different. Well, of course, there's that other consideration is raising taxes. And I heard, first of all, let me thank everybody who emailed us and spoke to us at the previous meetings. I really want to say thank you for talking to us, because I heard where you were coming from. I heard how important this is. I heard especially that you don't want retirees in the building. And I understand that, and I'm hearing that. And so voting for the full funding of 2 additional officers, including the 4 plus 2 would be 6, is still on the table. However, with these budget considerations, it's going to be really hard. So the other thing is, why don't we just raise taxes for it? Well, some people at the meeting said, I'll pay higher taxes. God bless you if you can afford it. Not everybody can. We have plenty of people in Vestal that are of a certain age and they have fixed incomes. They've raised their families. They've been in their house for 40 and 50 years. They don't want to leave. They don't want to move. They want to stay there. Their neighbors are there. They know everybody. Their family is very often in the area. They don't want to lose their house. We have many working families that can't afford it. And in fact, they got hit hard in the last 2 tax increases. And consistently over the years, taxes have gone up and up. Now, I'm certainly not going to make any promises I can't keep to, because you always have a certain percentage of labor cost increase, and you always have inflation in terms of things that you have to buy. However, you have to manage it and minimize it as much as possible. And one of the reasons that Glenn, Robert, and I got elected, I went door to door 4 and 5 months, literally. And I went to well over 1,000 households. And one of the main concerns was taxes and money, and how are they going to do it from here on in. So that is a major concern. And even people who appear to have more money, they have kids, they have family, they're trying to save for college. They have a lot on their plate. So just because you have a decent income does not mean that you have a lot to spend. So for all these reasons, we have to remember we're a community of people, and we can't forget about these people. If you can afford it, God bless. If you want to pay for everybody, we'll take it. But please don't put these people in that position. I heard their stories. Will they come to here and say it? Probably not. Do I know that it's real? 100%. Do we have to look out for them? I think as a community, we do. Because if we forget about them, that will be us one day when we get to a certain age or when we lose our job. So please remember that. Now, in formulating the budget, though, even though it's going to be tough, I hear you in what you want, and we can try to figure out a way to pay for it. But we have to do it smartly. We're going to be looking this year, and we're starting to do it, looking into grants. So our engineer has been amazing at getting grants. Scott Groats, our water and sewer director, is amazing at getting grants. They're already doing this. However, there's tons of grants, and grant money is going to somebody. Why on earth wouldn't we try to get it for ourselves? We want stuff for our parks. We want to see if we can find a grant that would fit the SRO program. We want to see if we can pay for it through these funding mechanisms that would not burden our residents anymore. And then if we can consider ways to save money, but always listening to you and always trying to and ensuring that we maintain our services. But this will be a full conversation. But we must pay for the essentials first. we have to pay for the highway. Highway does an unbelievable amount. We are 52 square miles, 140 miles of roads, and everything has to be taken care of. They have to get paved, they have to get plowed, they have to get redone at times. We have 22 parks. They all have to get mowed about once a week. We have, unfortunately, over 50 properties in the flood zones where people lost their houses and they have to get mowed all the time. So our Parks and Highway Department, they do an amazing job, but this costs money and it has to be done. And there's so much more in the budget, but all of this will be a public conversation. Well, when we finish paying those bills, then we can talk as a group what we do from there. And I hear and I've heard from everybody the importance of the SRO program. I can guarantee that those 4 officers are staying in place, and we can discuss funding 2 more additional full duty officers, but we got to find the money because it's not just 1 year. It has to be every year going forward. If we're going to do this, we need to know that we can pay for it and keep going with that payment. It's irresponsible to do anything else. So we want to do it. We want to ensure that the people of Estill and, that they get everything that they want, but we need to have this and we need to discuss this as a community and we need to set our priorities, and we will be doing that. So when we come to the budget time for the first time ever, it will be completely different. You're actually going to have a say. We ran on the premise that it's going to be transparent and you're going to get a say, and guess what? You are. Okay, we're doing our best with what we were left, but going forward, you're going to have a say in how we move from here. Complete transparency. All of the department heads are itemizing their budgets, and then we're going to publish everything online. There is a budget online, but what we're doing is breaking it down and making it clear so that you understand what each category is and where the money is going. And then we're starting with that, but each department head is also going to be making a 5-year capital plan, which means any major purchases that they need to make, we're going to plan for them so that it's not this big surprise going from year to year. It's not this, oh my gosh, we have to pay for this. We have enough of those when our pumps go and things like that. But there's tons of equipment things and everything that we can plan for. Highway needs to continuously get. The 2 dump trucks that I had talked about previously, they're used in the summertime in the mud, and in the wintertime as the snow plows with the salt and everything. They keep them for 15 to 20 years till literally they are rusting and rotting out. And then they resell them and put that money towards the new equipment. And in fact, we're going to be voting on our engineers, and they are selling a car, which is a 2008 car. They keep their equipment. They use it as long as they can. And then they're actually selling that. And at the end of the summer, they have to use the van for something else. And then they're going to sell the van and they're going to buy a new car with the proceeds from those 2. So everything gets auctioned off. They already have a lot of these cost-saving things in place. And going forward, we're all going to be talking about whether we can save anything else. And in a lot of areas, we're just not going to be able to, but we're going to look at alternatives. We're going to look at grants. We're going to try to do our best. There will be real discussions. There will be public forums, and in a timely way, so that you can, in a few meetings, have a real say and really talk about it and ask questions. In one of those meetings, we're going to have the heads of the departments here so that you can ask them the questions, very specific questions about something you question, or, you want to, you don't know if we should pay for it or even what it is. They will be here to answer your questions for at least one meeting. Okay. So I may not know the answer, but you will have somebody here who does, so that when we talk about the budget and we think about the budget, and then eventually you have a say in the budget, you will know what you will be saying in your survey. Okay, and in real input, we're working on our technology. That's going to take a while, but we're trying to set up a real secure survey system where if you're a resident of Estill You can register and you'll be able to literally have your say on everything in the major issues on the budget, but on the budget as a whole as well. Will it be legally binding? No, but I can guarantee you I will listen to it and I will abide by whatever consensus we can get. Now, will everybody do it? Of course not. Honestly, if you look at any election, not everybody shows up. But what I have found in this last election is that people got out there and voted. 6,000 people in Vestal, which is unheard of in an off year. So I've heard that you want change. I heard that you want transparency, and I heard that you want input. So we're trying to do that. And that online survey will always have an in-person option for people of a certain age who are more comfortable doing it in person, or people with disabilities for the same reason. If for some reason our technology is not okay by then, we will still do a hard copy survey and vote. And I will take it as a vote. And our board has, at least three of us. I haven't asked the other ones. I don't know if they're against it, but we will do a real survey. You will have your say, because going forward, you have that right. This is your money. Everything is your money. This is your budget, your community, your money. This community has to set its own priorities. Can we do it on every single issue? Of course not. Can we do it in a major way, in major things? Absolutely. Okay, in a minute. Okay. Just until we get that action, but just soon. Okay, the thing we do ask, and it really bothers me that in the emails, what I saw is a lot of misinformation and a lot of people saying that we were getting rid of the SROs and those 4 SROs are not continuing and everything. And that was simply incorrect. Always was. They were never leaving. They were never not getting their job. Were there budget issues? Of course. We came upon something that we weren't expecting. You would think that they would pay for the sessionals and they didn't. However, what we do ask going forward is that you get the real facts. We videotape every meeting. Our minutes are now really elaborate. It has a lot of information in there, everything that we go over in the meetings. So you can read the minutes, you can watch the video, you can see for yourself exactly what we're saying. Please don't listen to other people. Unfortunately, there's a few people with their own agendas and a lot of people who are just had the wrong information and didn't know. So please go to the source. We'll tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll be showing you the numbers. We'll be showing you the budget. We'll be showing you every dollar and how it's spent. So going forward, please just look at the facts. You can email us. We read the emails. Glenn had more time than I did, God bless him, but he answered most of them, but we read all of them. You can always email us. Unlike prior administrations, you will get an answer. I may be a few days later, but I will get back to you. So please, we listen. Please put that forward, but please look at what is reality and what is not. And then hopefully soon, if we can get our technology up to par, the website will be much more user-friendly. So we're planning on revamping it and doing a lot on it, but we're still in process for that. So not quite there yet, but we're working on it. Okay, and meetings, and thank you so much. And I know some of you are very heartfelt and some of you are very concerned, but I appreciate your courtesy here tonight to at least let me try to get the information out. I respect you. All I ask is that you respect everybody in this room. Okay, a lot of people are here for the SRO program. We're going to open it up to questions, comments in a minute or two, but we would just want to make sure that as many people are heard as possible. And then we do have to keep it in some broad framework. So please just be courteous to everybody in the room and listen to what each other says. Okay. We've heard everybody, we hear it, we've heard the issue, and I think you realize that. we're still going to vote for the extension of the SRO program. We're going to do it. You're going to get a say in it, but we have to look at the budget at the same time. If we can do it, we can do it. But it would be irresponsible to say with this budget, without the basics being paid, when we have to bond for $4.1 million plus, and we have to pay that back for so many years, it's irresponsible not to consider the whole budget in the process. So please, it used to be 3 minutes. We ask, please, if you have a question or comment, please keep it relatively short. We ask for 5 minutes. That will enable enough people to be able to speak, and then we can hopefully hear as many people as possible. And 45 minutes for questions or comments if we go that long, okay? Because we do have a whole agenda that we actually have to vote on. So we do have to get to that. But I think that's a reasonable period of time to hear as many people and hopefully as many topics as possible. And the one last thing I'd like to say is just please, if everybody is speaking on one topic, I'm going to ask, is there anybody on another topic? Please let them speak as well, okay? So we can try to hear everybody about everything. Okay? Okay. Can we turn this off? Okay, I didn't turn off the Zoom, did I?
No, we're good.
Okay, very good. So yes. Can
Hi,
Mhm.
thank you. My name is Catherine Egan, and I am not a Bethel resident, nor am I a voter. I come before you as the president of the Board of Education. And I want to thank you and acknowledge you for the weeks that you've been in office, not months, not years, weeks, that you have invited Mr. Gasson to not only the meetings, but your work meetings. And you have attended a meeting with him at Vestal School District, and you have returned my phone calls. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you
Thank you.
for that. I wanted to say that, and in light of everything that happened about 3:30 this afternoon in Kansas City, I wanted to just say that our school district has the best. We have the best. And our kids deserve the best. And so when it comes time for making decisions and going forward, anyone can fill in and do things with day-to-day activities, but it's those emergencies. It's those things that really make the difference, that our kids deserve the best. And that's what we want. So I think that Vestal is a desirable school district and a desirable place to live. And that does not happen by accident. It has been years in the making, and we are fantastic. And your success is our success. And Vestal School District's success is the pride of our town.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all of your work. I really appreciate it.
Clifford Casson, School Superintendent. I live at 959 Tracy Creek Road here in Vestal. So I just want to let you know, I've worked in the district for 18 years as an administrator. And during those 18 years, we've had 1 school resource officer, then 2, then 3, then 4. And they are active police officers from the Vestal Police Department. We have had excellent relationships with the town of Vestal in all different entities, with the parks, water department, engineering department, and the highway department, and working with school board. We've had a really great relationship. So taking all that into consideration, being a superintendent, I did reach out to Sexton, the town supervisor, invited her to the school district to continue that collaboration. And with that, you mentioned facts, so I'm going to list some facts. Facts were that last summer and early last fall, we were in communication with the chief of police and talking about expanding from 4 active Vestal police officers, 2 more, so we'd have a total of 6. So we'd have an active police officer, 1 on each of our 6 campuses for the school district. for the safety, security, and welfare of our students and staff, which is very, very important to us and our community. So we know that our community has really supported our SROs. They're part of our community. They support our community, support them in the school system. So when I met with the new supervisor, he said that there can't be, we're not going to look at adding 2 more officers, even though the department did hire 2 new officers, then to backfill for SROs. So my understanding was, how can that happen if there's budget issues and the district is saying we're paying half the salaries for its SROs? So why wouldn't it be like, hey, it's going to help with the budget if those other 2 SROs who came, or 2 police officers came onto the force, and we're willing to pay half the salaries for 2 of the police officers so we could have 6. So that's one question that I've had, and I've met multiple times with the board. I've been to board meetings, I've been to planning sessions, and that's something that hasn't come back clear to me. And also, I've asked that you're saying that the Bethel Police Department SROs will be in place, but the communication I received, it was guaranteed through June of 25 because of the budget cycle. The town budget cycle goes from January 1 to December 31st. The school district gives from July 1st to June 30th. And we had the conversation. We didn't want to disrupt any program mid-year, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the conversation there. But I haven't had a commitment past June of 25 with the Bethel Police Department as active SROs in the schools. And that's something where has indicated that the program will continue with it for, but I do want to question how long will that continue, because that's what the school district, I'm advocating for the school district alone, and that's what we really, really want to have, those active police officers in our schools as much as possible. I have explored other avenues. I have phone calls out, and I have had meetings with other entities, so we could have 6 for next year. If we have to go retiree for 2 different officers through the DA office. I've also contacted Tioga County, see about Tioga Hills, what we can do. We're really working actively, proactive here, trying to make sure that we have safety and security in our buildings every day, that we have students and staff and such. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate you having this venue here. And I know there's a lot of concerned citizens who'd like to speak also, but that's what I'm advocating from the school district as superintendent of schools.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as we're meeting, I told you that it's for the people, the residents of Vestal, to decide how we move forward. And our budget, unfortunately, are not at, we don't figure it out at the same time. However, you come here and criticize and say that we should spend something one or another. I just said, if we can fund it, if the people of Vestal, if the residents, if we can figure out how to fund it, we will. But I also offered you the option of paying the full salaries of the 2 additional officers. And so.
I'm sorry, but I wasn't criticizing anyone.
Mhm.
And there was never a formal offer to try and pay full salaries. That did not happen.
Oh, yes, I did. I said. I said, if you wanted to pay the full salaries, otherwise it's up to the people of Vestal to decide how we, yeah.
That did not happen.
So-
I'm not gonna put that. I hear you.
Okay, we'll move on to somebody else. Mhm.
No, that
Okay.
never happened.
My name is Stephanie Mitsakos. I live at 4617 Madison Drive in Vestal. I am a taxpayer. I've lived in Vestal since 2005. I have 3 children in the Vestal School District, 2 in the high school, 1 in the middle school. I have worked for the Vestal School District for 19 years as an elementary school counselor, and have worked alongside our school resource officer for the one that we have now for 10 years every day. And I emailed the board about the work that I do with our school resource officer and gave you all my personal cell phone number. Because I know that nobody spoke to anybody at my building, about what our school resource officers do for our students, our staff, and our families every day. Now, 3 of you took the time to email me back, 1 just a line, but 3 of you took the time to email me back. And the time that it would have taken you to pick up your phone and call me, I would have loved to have celebrated all of the things that these individuals do every day to make our kids feel safe, to make them feel like they belong, to make our staff feel like they've got support, to make our families feel safe and comfortable in our schools, to know that our Bethel police officers are there for them. And you know what, Ms. Sexton, in the beginning of this, I quoted you as you were going through your budget. And that's unfortunate, but the fact that you're looking at this as a place to save some money, you said, God forbid we have a snowstorm that we don't want to have to pay for. Well, God forbid, Ms. Sexton, you have something far more dangerous than that on your hands. When you went around asking taxpayers what they wanted, that we were concerned about our taxes going up. Guess what? We didn't think we had to be worried about the safety and well-being of our students at that time. And now we do. So now we're telling you we're worried. And it's because of the choices and the conversations that you're having.
One at a time.
So my name's Bill Stewart. I live on Gardner Road down Funky Bees. I don't know if you ever heard of it. A lot of the kids from high school work for me, so want to keep them safe. I was under the assumption that the 2 officers that were hired were specifically for the school district. And they were going to add, that's why we hired them, but now that's not the case, but we still hired them, so we're including the salaries. Is that?
Yeah, and we'll decide with the new budget if we want to spend, if we want to do it. But once you put them in the schools, they need to stay in the schools. And then the school superintendent was determining whether he wanted to use retirees or not. We actually do not technically have anything to do with that. They go directly to the DA's office, but we would support anybody, any law enforcement in the schools, of course, 100%.
But is that why we hired them though?
The prior administration hired them, and it was the wrong thing not to do to hire them because it came right down to the wire. So you don't do that to somebody at the last minute.
Is that why?
They were to backfill. However, we also have to make the choice whether we want to increase our police force for all of the other residents and our school children not on school days so that they're safe in their homes as well. We have 52 square miles.
Would if we weren't going to do the SRO, we have hired them?
The prior administration offered to hire them, and we weren't going to renege on that because it wasn't the right thing to do for those 2 individuals.
Okay, so that's not the answer to my question, but
Mhm.
so I will say this, as I work with these kids every day,
Mhm.
and I know that we have schools, these other officers are floating. So there are schools that are basically unattended. And I hope that during those unattended times, nothing happens. I do worry about that. I don't have little kids. I just have 1 daughter left in school. So I do worry about that. I wish that we would use the officers that we hired for the job that we hired them for, especially if the school budget pays for half their salary. That seems like we're paying their salary now. That would actually reduce the budget by half their salaries. So I guess I don't understand that, but the other thing too is, I would ask from the board is whenever these meetings come up, I'm constantly hearing the past administration did this, the past administration did this, we're fixing the past administration. You guys run a business, and as a business, when your problems come up, you don't blame the people that cause the problems. You just fix them.
Mr. Davis, can I address that? As
It's, with my business, I have problems with suppliers, and I have problems with things that happen that are out of my control. In the past administration is not in your control. And honestly, none of us care who did what in the past. What we care about is that you were elected to fix it. So like the dump trucks and everything else, what your comment was, the past administration got these and they weren't budgeted for. But then in your next breath, you said, well, we need them. Well, who cares then if they weren't budgeted for? We needed them. You know what I mean? So we gotta stop digging on the past administration. We just need to focus on today's problems. How do we fix them together as a team and move forward? And that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
My name is Lisa Milkovich. I live on Nelson Road in Dunstable. I've had 2 kids go through the school district. And I appreciate your explanation of everything, and you responded to an email from me as well as other folks. I'd actually like to hear from Mrs. Messina, who is the co-chair of the Finance Committee and was here last year. I'd like to understand, how is it possible that $4.1, $4.2 million was not accounted for in a budget of the town this size when it was approved, because the item purchased, I don't think that anybody's buying things about at that time about being approved. So if Mrs. Messina could please explain, I'd really appreciate it.
Lisa, can you hear me? Oh, I guess you can. Wow. Okay. So, when we do the budget, and sometimes things come in after the budget is done, but there are also times when things don't come in during budget season for whatever reason. And so that I really can't address fully, but I can say that when we talk about, are we broke? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking, the supervisor has made it clear that we're in a budget crisis, we're in this deficit. This seemed to be the motivator for cutting the SRO program, which you are, if you're not allowing the 2 officers who were hired in January to be in the schools where the school would be paying half of their salaries right now, today. If you're not doing that, then you have partially cut the program already. But so that I'm trying to figure out why this is the issue, is that it's all about money. How did that happen? Where did we get?
Okay, so I'm going to give you the answer that I've given anybody else that's asked me. Deficits are different than debt. All municipalities use some sort of short-term and long-term bonding, including the town of Estill. And your bond rating determines what you're eligible for and is based on your ability to pay and your projected revenue, just like getting credit cards and loans. So our last bond rating was AA-, and our fiscal stress is close to 0. Vestal has a New York State required amount of cash in reserves. If you have too much, you're cited by New York State as you're holding on to taxpayer monies. And those of you that are here from the schools, remember that happened a few years ago with the school district. So that's a real concern. Our fourth quarter sales tax revenue exceeded the end of the year projection that we had. And our general fund balance, and that's the account that you pay your bills out of, is also ahead of the end of the year projection. So there's always unexpected bills, but the town of Estill more than qualifies for short-term bonds, which are loans, or lower rates because we are at a municipality, as well as long-term bonds. We've never defaulted or paid late, so we are always able to get what it is that we need. We use grants as much as possible. However, grants are often designated according to the demographics of your area and services of the community. So consequently, the town of Vestal is not eligible for grants that other municipalities and neighboring areas are, because we don't serve the same kinds of populations. So the books for 2023 are not complete because revenues and expenses come in throughout January and February. And as the supervisor said, you have unexpected expenses all along the way. Once they're in, the 2023 financial report is completed. Then an independent audit is completed to make sure our numbers are in order. Then the New York State Comptroller issues their report in the 3rd quarter. So finances are a matter of how you interpret the data, how you approach it. I've given you the New York State interpretation, although it's somewhat simplified. I hope it makes sense. The current town of Estill Comptroller was trained by our previous comptroller, who was identified as one of the best comptrollers in New York State. He's cautious and fiscally prudent. If you look on the town of Estill website, there's a folder labeled financial reports and budgets. And all of the information regarding past and current budgets and reports can be found in that folder. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in too as the fellow co-chair of the Finance Committee. I think the bigger issue is, and actually I take great offense to the comments that the new administration has made. I wish they would say that they're uneducated in municipal government and don't know how to read a budget rather than saying that the town is broke. I've had a lot of time where I've been able to go through. I spent time in the budget. I spent time with the controller. I spent time with Councilwoman Messina, and the town is not broke. The new administration does not know how to read a budget. That's the issue.
Well,
So I would like to
Except that
speak up
you-
on that particular topic.
can I-
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Public safety, yes, ma'am.
So right now, as of 12/31/23, there were 2 officers in the budget. They were hired in January. The budget line for those 2 officers, are they police officers or SRO officers? What's the pay? Because it would be half or 100%.
They are police officers.
Not hired as SRO.
They were hired to backfill, to put officers with experience in the schools. Because there's special training that you want to have for officers that go into the schools, like working with, students who are experiencing emotional difficulties and whatever.
Right now, this budget stands, are there 4 SRO officers in the budget as of 12/31/23 or 6?
4.
There was never those extra.
Those 2 officers were brought on board as patrol officers.
But there's been a lot of discussion that there's 2 still should have been 2 SRO brought in. Part of the problem, and I'll just say, I've read all the minutes for both. I was at the first one, read the minutes from that one, read the minutes from the second one. SRO and police officer are interchanged comments, and they're not the same thing, even though they're
Right.
police officers. That needs to be corrected. Because it's very confusing to the population when you say you hired them as SROs, police officers, and they're not, they're police officers. So right now, in the budget, there's only 4 SRO officers in the budget
That is correct.
for the entire 2024 year.
Yes, ma'am. Um,
So when the superintendent talks about the cost of, just so everybody else, I'm sure most people know this, that you folks, the town pays half the cost, we pay half the cost of the school.
correct.
So if you don't continue to fund the program after 2020, because your budgets don't line up with the school budget, so they're really, but say you decide that you don't have the money for the SRO office, which, by the way, reading the minutes I really encourage people to read the minutes. And I appreciate the new folks coming on and having to absorb all of this information, and it's a lot of information, but in the first meeting, you said that you hadn't spoken to the police chief, but that you had a plan in regards to the SRO. And then later on, there was other comments, down the road, but that tells me that less than 2 weeks down the job, you already had an idea what you were doing. And that disturbs me as a parent and as a resident of this town, because I don't think that's being as transparent as your platform. I voted for you. And let me just say that the other part of your platform, you talk about, reviewing the expenses of the town gradually and responsibly. And having surveys is not gradually or responsibly. Having a committee with the stakeholders that would benefit, or whatever you want to say, of the SROs, and learn what the other communities in our area are doing. Is some of them have SROs, some of them have the retired cops. That would be a lot more responsible in my mind, and a lot more gradual and responsible, which is what your platform is.
I hear you. First of all, that bond rating was 10 years old. Second,
It's not, no, it's not.
More wise.
Annual review
Mhm.
from year 2021. I don't know this stuff, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I know everything, but I
Mhm.
know that the bond rating for the year 2021 was AA.
Yeah. no, it might be,
I've seen it yet. 2021 is the only one.
it might be currently now. And if you,
Right.
No.
There's room for error in this situation. These are our kids and we're taxpayers. There's no wavering on things that might do. You weren't elected to do a job. and you are faulting your numbers. None of what you're saying adds up. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure everyone else believes there's a huge error in accounting error here. That you need to take responsibility for and go over. This is ridiculous what I'm hearing. This is
Well-
ridiculous. It's nothing fiscally makes sense. What's coming out of your mouth?
No, we're not allowed to default on bonds, so our rating is always going to be pretty good. We can't, because the state would have to bail us out. We're not allowed to, we're a municipality. So we're not allowed to default. No, we're not here to debate.
Yeah, you are.
With you, I'll talk to you. Mhm. Yeah, well, there's $4.1 million that we have to pay that is not included in the regular budget. And in the next year's budget, if we, we can include the SROs, I have no problem with it, but we need to find the money and we need to pay the basics first. By the way, just to clarify, none of the two additional SROs would start until September anyway. So absolutely nobody could turn around and put an SRO in there. We don't have them. The two officers that are hired went to the academy and they're not on patrol, but they will be eventually, and they will be available when the Vestal residents decide what to do with them. So.
Mr. Fletcher, can I speak real quick before you do, and then
Mhm.
I'll hand it to you. So first of all, I understand there's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of heartfelt feelings here. If we could bring the heat down just a little bit, I think it'd be a good idea for everybody. No, excuse me. So I understand that the feelings are there, but to actually yell out lies isn't helping. It just isn't helping. The other thing is I keep hearing the board that the new board administration is doing this. I want you to all understand that this is 5 individual people on the board. Mr. Donnelly doesn't always agree with me. I don't always agree with Ms. Sexton. Sue doesn't always agree with Robert. We do discuss things and come up with things so that we can move forward, but we are not a collective entity. We are the servants of the people of Vestal. And I personally, and then I'm only speaking for myself, I have told many people, including people on the board, my job is to represent the people. I have my own opinions, but if the people's desire is different, the people take precedence. That's my job. That's why I was elected. That's what I intend to do. That's why I made a point to answer as many of the emails, all the ones I could receive about the SRO program. I do intend to go out to the schools, talk to the SRO officers, see what they're doing. I heard earlier this evening that there's a perception that nobody went out to the department heads to talk to them right away. Pretty much the first thing I did. And the 2 department heads I went to, the water and the highway, and then I went down to Fire Station 1, got a tour there. Each one said, wow, you're the first board member we've seen in years. So that was surprising to me. And I'm not sure if that was true or not. That's just what I was told. Didn't really make a difference. My commitment is to do those things you're asking for, get out there, get the information, listen to the people, and act in a way that you want to have done on the board for my part of it. Mr. Fletcher.
So first off, this section, the plan that was approved in 2023 would have allowed immediately upon hire in January of the 2 new officers for 2 senior officers to transition immediately into the 2 open SRO positions. So that was a plan that was reviewed and approved. That's not my question. 2 very quick questions. And they're a little personal in nature, but I'll tone it down.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Messina, I'm reading this because I didn't want to say
No.
a simple yes or no question for you, please. Did Police Chief Kidner ever share with you that he had concerns with regards to unethical behavior on the part of Supervisor Sexton?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. One other question, please. Supervisor Sexton, you've been quoted as saying that replacing our chief of police will be extremely difficult. Did you ever meet with him to attempt to get him to reconsider his decision?
He didn't even tell me personally that he was retiring. I got a notice, so
Beyond that, but did you ever reach out to him to speak to him about his reasoning?
I actually had a meeting set up to him. I asked him to sit down and talk. We were in the process of doing that, and then he announced that he was retiring. So yes, I did make the effort to sit down and talk to him.
Right. Just said, okay, thank you. A man that was raised, grew up, started all of these programs from the ground up, hired police officers who are good people, who love the town, and worked his way up by the civil service test, worked his way up to get there, and you're just like, peace out, thank you for your service.
That's exactly right.
Really?
Tell
Tell me how.
I told you, I didn't even get a chance to say anything in regards to him. He wouldn't meet with me, so.
So my final question, Mr. Reynolds. Given that the supervisor has publicly stated that she would again perform an unauthorized traffic stop, I would like to understand what liability insurance coverage the town has in place that in the unfortunate event of doing such a stop with a personal injury or God forbid a death.
The town has insurance, in place, that stopgap insurance. And there's also, self-insurance up to a certain point. We have a financial.
Can I just get your microphone?
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
We have, that's a little loud, isn't it? I'm gonna-
Push it further away. maybe.
We've got, I'm not in charge of the insurance. I'm not the insurance person, but we do have insurance in place. I'm aware of that from the administration. So, I mean, I don't know what you're,
My point here is, if this is deemed to truly be unauthorized.
well, as far as liability, if you're talking about the specific incident, I mean,
I am. Yeah.
well, there is no liability with that specific
If
incident.
something were to happen because the supervisor,
Well, then you're not talking about the specific incident. The
she
specific
stated
incident-
that she would do it again.
But you're not talking about the specific incident. If you were talking about the specific incident, there is no liability. Damages, okay? If you're, okay, all right.
Yeah, all I did,
Sexton,
yeah.
Was this reported to the Vestal Police Department?
No, all I did was try to stop a head-on accident.
Was
That's
it
all I did.
reported to the police
No, I didn't report it to the police department.
department? Will it be?
I didn't take police action. All I did was block traffic so that,
Mr. Fletcher, I reported this to our town attorney to bring to the Attorney General's office, which has not yet been done. So I would ask the public to please reach out to the Attorney General's office. She absolutely committed a crime from everybody that I've spoken to. And I'm happy to go on the record to say that it was wrong and it should absolutely be prosecuted.
One question on that, and this is to Councilman Miller and Green.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the role and responsibilities of incident commander,
I am not, no.
Mr. Green?
I'm aware of it from firefighter training. That's different. So I cannot speak to it fully.
And responsibility of a supervisor of the town of Vestal, you are not aware of the title and responsibility associated with it.
Oh, I'm aware of the title.
Doesn't exist.
Can you show me where that exists?
Doesn't exist.
That exists.
All I know is what I've been told from,
So I'll be very clear. It
who
does not
I-
exist in any documentation.
Mr. Fletcher, I spoke with our emergency response team regarding that subject. And the information I received is that there has never been an incident commander position.
Management director,
Correct.
and only invoked through an official town board meeting for a town-wide emergency event, such as the 2011 flood, not pulling somebody over out of.
and yet, I would submit that she didn't pull someone over, so to speak. Now, so hold on. And if I had observed the same thing she observed, I would have done the same thing.
That the emergency lighting on the unmarked police car was turned on, pull a car over and detain a civilian.
That's not the information I have.
Civilian-
Then you have the wrong information.
Well, the information I got came from the source. So where did yours?
He said it right on the record, Glenn. He said it right on the record.
Investigation to stop this group.
Agreed.
Okay.
That's that. Hi.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Christy Smith. I live at 725 Weirder Road here in Vestal. I'm not as eloquent of a speaker as Stephanie was, so I'm gonna read what I've written, and then, I do have some questions at the end. So last week I wrote 2 emails to the board. Some of you did respond, others have not. I'd like to point out that Town Supervisor Sexton has mentioned in previous town meetings the need for transparency, yet I have not had the pleasure of a response from her directly. So I'm here today to get some information. So let me tell you a little bit about my experience with the SRO program within Vestal School District. I've had the pleasure and honor of watching this program grow and adapt to the needs of our school community since its inception. As a parent, community member, and Vestal School employee for over 20 years, I have worked collaboratively with Officer Nick Segrayson, Officer Stace Gaitner, Officer Johnny Atkinson, Officer Corey Shirley, Officer Connor Talbot, Officer Michelle Tukin, Officer Justin Perez, and they're just at Vestal High School. Additionally, I've worked with Officer TJ Surkees and Officer Chris Cardarelli from Vestal Middle School. How many of you have had the privilege of meeting all of these officers who have been a part of the SRO program over all of these years? The SR program in its current model, works. It provides safety and security for all of our students, staff, and community members. The reason this current model works is because our SROs are Vestal Town active police officers. Many of these officers have been previous graduates of our Vestal High School or have decided to raise their family within this community. These officers are invested in our students and provide a level of security that a retired SRO simply cannot provide. When a student was viciously murdered by their parent during 4th of July celebration, who immediately responded to our school community? A Vestal active SRO. When a family of children is afraid to go home after school, who immediately helped in that situation? A Vestal active school SRO. When a student tragically lost their life on Thanksgiving morning, who immediately helped our school community? A Vestal active SRO. When we have students in need of food or don't come to school, who immediately helps the staff to respond? A Vestal active SRO. When we have holiday gifts to deliver and to our most economically challenged families in need, who immediately responds to transport? A Vestal active SRO. When we have students with mental health crises at the schools, who immediately responds to help with that situation for transport students? A Vestal active SRO. I can continue on with years and years of worth of information on what our Vestal active SROs have helped out with. They are someone who is currently active with the police department and have gone through training, which you just explained, in many areas to help our schools and communities to be safe. As you can imagine from some of these scenarios, they don't happen Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 p.m. These are nights, weekends, holidays, and vacations. Will a retired police officer provide that level of support to our community when we are in most need? Think about the discrepancy in the wording that has been messaged out to the folks in our town. From Councilman Glenn Miller, I quote, "Concerning the SRO program, this is on solid ground with this administration and there are no talks or suggestions in changing it in any way." That is a direct inconsistency with the messaging from the last board meeting where Supervisor Maria Sexton stated that the SRO program with the 4 officers will be staying in place. The program is great and continuing on. Sexton stated that they're going to they are going to do with 2 more officers, retired officers, handpicked, and that would be more cost effective and still be done correctly. Sexton stated that the residents will not have to pay extra money, but yet we will have 6 officers in the school. That's from the last meeting's board meeting. Again, this is a change to current practice. Have you talked to your constituents regarding the current model? I'm guessing no, because we're here. I know for myself and others, the fact that we have full-time active police officers as SROs with vessel cars in our school has a strong message to those who look to harm our students and staff. Now you have publicly stated that you're looking to make a change to the program and to hire retired officers who are not able to have the same level of commitment to the position and has now put our school and students and staff at risk. As a parent that sends my kids to the same school where I work, I have a level of assurance that if there is any danger, my SRO will have an immediate capability to respond to threats. We don't have to wait for a road patrol to finish with their domestic situation at the other end of the parkway to respond to the needs of the school. Have you spent a day with our current SROs? Have you talked to them directly about what they respond to and about the relationships that they have created with students and staff? They go to football games and sporting events, even in their off time, to connect with their community. That they are available to parents and students anytime a situation arises. That they handle the numerous amounts of social media concerns that face our students today. It takes a lot to get this town fired up, and unfortunately, you both are there. I hope you will reconsider this discrepancy in language and keep the current SRO model beyond the year of 2025.
Thank you. Can I comment on that if you want to ask a question afterwards? First of all, I heard you. I also heard everybody who wrote the email. Hence the reason why we are not, even though technically it wouldn't be us anyway, advocating the retirees. We're looking to expand, but we do have to do it in the context of the budget. But I hear you. Those officers are staying in place. They're going to continue in place, and we're going to see if we can get 6. But we have to pay for them. So I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
This pays for half of that, so there needs to be more conversation.
Yeah. No. Mhm.
As my follow-up question on a completely unrelated topic, this is for Supervisor Sexton. Have you ever intervened in disciplinary matters in the police force? And are you planning on continuing doing that practice with the new chief of police?
The new chief of police is head of his department, as was the last chief of police. So the disciplinary action goes to the board, it goes to the supervisor, and technically it goes to the board for consultation and then action. So generally the chief of, the department head recommends and documents and puts forward to the board for a decision. So I'm sorry, were you asking something specific about it? Maybe I'm not understanding. I've never, as a police officer or down? No.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wiggins. I live at 183 Noyes Road. I am a parent, I'm a taxpayer, and I am the principal at Vestal Middle School. I have 2 children in elementary school who have grown up knowing that a Vestal police car and a Vestal uniformed officer is a threat. They know Officer Talbot is a safe person, and since 1st grade, if they saw something that was wrong, my daughter would say, call Talbot, because that means that that is an officer who is safe. I watch the students come up to middle school. They don't always come and report things to us. They go to officer cars because they have been taught since elementary school that officers are safe people they can go to talk to. I have witnessed with my own eyes Officer Cardarelli save a life in the middle school. We had a student whose heart stopped 3 years ago. If he hadn't been there to radio that it was a top priority, we would have had a whole different type of tragedy on our hands. And that's because we had a uniformed officer in our building. Vestal is changing. There's a population. I saw your presentation. I understand what you're saying. There are people who can't afford while others can. But these officers are the ones who step up for those families. Officer Tukin has gone with me to visit those families, to do safety checks, to make sure that those students are okay. All of them deliver food All of them answer their phones at all hours of the night when we have a concern. It might be, I get called at 5:30 in the morning. And they answer. My understanding is that through the retirees, we get them for 7 hours a day. My students are in that building much longer than 7 hours a day. What are we supposed to do for that other hour?
Once again, I hear you.
I
Those
understand
officers are staying in
but
place.
I also have not heard you say yet,
Mhm.
that in the fall of 2025, I will have a uniformed officer at Vestal Middle School. Will you say that today?
I will say that those officers will be in place and we will try to get the extra two.
Not next year. I know you've said that next year. I want after that because our students deserve that. I'm paying for it, like they said, no matter what. We are raising kids who know who to go to in a crisis. And I'm sure you saw on the news what happened to Johnson City High School the other day. They didn't have armed officers there. I have worked in 4 different school districts now. Pulling up and seeing a police car there, seeing an officer in the window as you walk in, that is impactful. They protect everyone in that building every single day. And I would hope that this board would work together to make sure that our kids who can't come here and speak are the most vulnerable population, that their safety is a priority just because they can't vote. Thank you.
Sorry?
So my name is Tim Bain, I live in Bethel. My question is about Chief Kidner.
Mhm.
So he's been on this force for 20 years, you know, done everything he could on Bethel. Finally achieved the climax of his career. He's chief of police now. He's worked for it for his entire career. He deals with you for 2 months. And it's intolerable. I mean, you're a town supervisor. You accept any responsibility for that and losing a chief of police like Kidner?
Well, I tried to talk to him. I tried to make a meeting with him and he wouldn't. He put in his papers, so.
So the meetings that you've had with him, you've had meetings, correct?
Yes, I have.
How many approximately?
I don't remember exactly.
Do you think those meetings were positive in nature?
I thought they were constructive, yeah.
Were you guys arguing in there?
No, of course not.
So what was the main topic that you and him dealt with in those meetings?
It was honestly, I just taken over. We were getting to know each other. So we were learning about each other. I was learning all of the good stuff that he does. And I was beginning to appreciate that. And I met with him several times on different topics, including with the school superintendent.
So I don't mean any disrespect, but I think it has to be gone up. You can tell that a lot of people here don't believe what you're saying. It seems like in a circle. Now, I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. And I'm not even going down there. But what we know is Chief Kidner was on it and was responsible. And part of what he's saying is the meetings with you had a direct impact on him resigning.
Oh.
Now, your responsibility is to keep this town safe.
Tim, actually, Chief Kidner retired.
Yeah, he just retired, just out of the blue, retired that day.
But I just, and let me,
You don't think there was any sort of animus on the paper?
Tim, all I'm saying is that Chief Kidner retired and that he's been a part of our community, probably like with you, for me, forever. And he's built programs and he's worked in our youth programs, et cetera.
My question to her, it's not about safety.
Okay,
It's about her actions in those meetings.
okay.
Would you do anything different with the personnel that are in this office? Try to retain the good people that we have here. Because it seems like you're alienating an entire town. If you
So-
could say what you do different, I'd love to.
Well, hopefully I'll do better going forward because I'm trying to listen to everybody here. I'm hearing what you said. I did consider the idea of the retirees. I heard that that's not what people want. And we're going to try to pay for the 2 additional full duty officers as well. But we do have budget realities. And so therefore,
I'm not even sure of realities, how the whole math after this. But she's saying that we're in a good shape, we have a grade A, all our debts are paid, we have money in reserve the way we're supposed to. and you're
Mhm.
canceling one of the favorite programs in this town. Why are you sounding that alarm?
I'm not canceling the program. It's continuing on with the 4 officers. Okay. I can't see canceling it ever, but we'll have to find the money to pay for it. But once again,
There's a but.
said-
It's not a but.
There- those officers are staying in place. I'm not pulling them out. I will tell you that I will never pull them out. We will find the money for those 4 officers going forward. We promised them for the full next school year, and then we'll talk about it in the budget, but it's going to be within the budget for next year as well.
And if I may interject for just a moment, as I said before, this is a 5-member board. The supervisor does not solely make that decision. If a decision comes up about the SRO program, each of the board members will separately vote yes or no on it. If the supervisor votes no and the 4 other board members vote yes, it's a yes. So I understand there's concern about Supervisor Sexton and how she's working in her supervisor role. As far as the SRO program goes, she is just one of 5 board members.
Isn't it true that you 3 campaign together as Real Democracy for Vestal, though? That
doesn't-
seems like one voice.
That doesn't have to do with the SRO program.
Curious.
So to answer your question, that's a good point. It's a very good point. And the reason was,
That's all.
the reason was we were all Democrats, so there's that. Plus, it was cost effective and best for the people because people didn't have to sign 3 things. We didn't have to buy 3 signs. It was good to run on a slate. So we ran on a slate. It
You
just-
said you're 5 individuals. That's what
The board is 5 individuals.
correct.
Right now.
But you mentioned the decision making is 5 individuals.
On the board.
I
correct.
disagree.
Why would you disagree with that? I don't understand.
That'll be tabled for another discussion.
Okay, I don't understand because I've always seen it as 5 individuals and that's the way I approach it. And I've told that to Robert and Maria more than once that if I disagree with them, if the people tell me something different, I go with the people.
Real quick. for
Look
the
up the
record.
definition of quorum.
Real quick for the record. We have said exactly what Glenn has said all throughout the campaign. Him and I have both said that. We ran as a slate to make it easier to do this whole process. That does not mean we all vote the same. And I really am bothered that it's implied that we will.
So one question, Councilman Green, related to that. Last evening, there was a planning board meeting. At that meeting, my understanding is yourself, the supervisor, and Councilman Miller all attended that meeting, and following that meeting, met privately with the group that was in opposition to the project that was being presented. A couple things here. Number one, the 3 of you together in town hall is called a quorum. That breaks municipality regulation. Number 2, the planning board is an independent body specifically put in place in order to prevent any type of collusion between the board and the planning board. They're an independent body.
Okay.
For the record, please let me finish.
Mhm.
For the record, I was dropping my kids off. I'm the primary liaison for this. I showed up at the end, seeing that there were still cars here to see how the meeting went and get notes.
Slow down.
I am not
finish.
finished. I walked in, saw Councilman Donnelly here, who is not a liaison or an alternate. I made sure there were only 2 of us in the room. And once I realized that, I left after I figured out if I could get notes or not.
I would like to thank the resident that alerted me of the quorum, which is why I came down to town hall to investigate.
Actually, Mr. Donnelly, you were the last one to arrive. We were here first. But we were attending the planning board meeting. Glenn is the committee representative.
I know. The lies upon lies.
It's not, no. There was not a quorum. I was here.
Glenn,
I was a participant in the meeting after the planning board. Board member Miller, Supervisor Sexton were there. It was a meeting to discuss among people who had volunteered to serve on the voluntary committee to work on a comprehensive town plan. There were not 3 board members in that meeting, and there was no quorum of board members in that meeting. Supervisor Sexton, Board Member Miller met with 3 residents to discuss participation on a voluntary committee to develop the town comprehensive plan, which was mentioned in prior board. So once again, falsehoods are being spread by you, who spread the falsehood about the famed Dairy Queen.
I spoke to the franchisee yesterday, Mr. Hoffman.
Why does the board supervisor know about this? Why do no other board members know about it? Why would?
Because town business doesn't happen like that.
For years and years, I've been to 100 board meetings in the last probably 5 to 8 years. I've never heard announcements from board members. The supervisor always made those announcements.
I'm an elected official, sir. I have a voice. I do not follow the supervisor's lead.
Campaigned against.
I did not.
Yes,
No, but I do feel that she actively campaigned against the former supervisor, and that was her whole platform, which you supported. And I believe you're a campaign donor also, but that's a whole other subject.
Okay,
falsehoods.
okay.
So
So-
I'd like to speak about the SRO program. I'm a 2018 graduate. I grew up with only one SRO in the district. I'm also on the school board, and I can tell from firsthand experience that the SROs do a lot more than just a uniform presence in the school. They do the Youth Police Academy, which has, when I started, I was the second year I went through it, and I went through it all through high school. That program grew from just Vestal kids to kids all the way from Whitney Point, Union Endicott. So these officers are not just affecting our town, but our entire county. We need them in the school. In 8th grade, we went into a lockdown because an angry parent got through the front doors of the middle school. And the SROs were right there, and we were able to get that situation under control really quick. It was it wasn't even 45 minutes, and we were back to our normal day in school. And not to mention, you guys are a board. You need to work together to run this town. You guys are fighting at each other left and right. It needs to stop. You guys are elected officials representing us. It's unacceptable of what's going on up there. In fact, it's embarrassing.
Okay, thank you.
Piggyback on what Josh said. Mark Browning, I'm also on the school board. Quick scan around the room to make sure we're not having a quorum, and we're not.
Yeah, I know.
Give you a little bit of advice. You guys are not putting up the best one. Seem to be dysfunctional. Most of you, 60% of you, I believe, are only a month and a half in. It's probably a steep learning curve. I will say that all 9 of us on the school board have our phone numbers front and center. Please feel free to call any one of us at any time. I would suggest that there's some things that we do that you might want to emulate. We don't always meet only in our boardroom. Each year, we travel around to different buildings and have board meetings at our building. The town has a lot of buildings. It would be a good idea for you to see all the buildings, whether over your 4-year terms, to have meetings at occasional firehouse, etc. I would also suggest that when you know this is going to happen, that you take us up on the offer to use our auditorium.
Okay, we have to move on to the rest of our agenda. But once again, I heard what you said about the SRO programs. I really appreciate all of your heartfelt feelings about it. The 4 officers are continuing on, and we will try to expand. Okay,
I thought the question's been at 7:30.
I'm sorry?
One more.
I just thought
One more.
you gave a certain amount of time and then we still had 6 minutes.
45 minutes. Is it 45 minutes? Do we not use it up?
Said we were gonna
No,
use
no,
five
I'm not, I thought it was, but do we not have more time in this one?
minutes.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
My name's Chris Youngstrom.
Mhm.
I've lived in Vestal my entire life. I look around the room and I recognize a lot of faces here. And I have volunteered for the youth programs in this league for the better part of 30 years. The idea that we're gonna try to cut police to make our kids less safe, to me, there is money other places, and I don't care what anybody in this room tells me. But the other thing I heard that bothered me, I don't know how politics work, I don't know any of that, and I'll admit that firsthand. I'm a football coach and a truck driver. But you said that I'm not trying to be disrespectful, you said you won't take them out of schools. Who are the 5 people or 6 people, whoever that would have that vote? Is it the 6 people sitting in this room?
It's a 5 people.
5 here.
Okay,
It's town lawyer.
okay, so 5
Yeah.
people. So you said on record that you wouldn't take them out, but Mr. Miller, would you take the SROs out of schools?
I will commit to you right now and to the rest of the public. Based on the emails, messages, I'm getting there. That I saw, it made a huge impression on me on how good the SRO program is. It really opened my eyes to the depth and the impact, thank you, of the SRO program. So I will commit to you and to the rest of the residents, when a vote comes up for the SRO program, I will be voting in support of keeping it and expanding it if possible with full-time police officers, not retirees. And well, it's okay, it's all right.
I've always been in support. I'm a retired teacher. I've always been in support of having an active duty officer in every school.
Would you vote yes or no? Going past 2025, would you vote yes or no to the SRO program?
I have 3 kids in this school district. I am a volunteer firefighter. So yes, I am. I'm just trying to get there. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So past 2025, all 5 of you on record have said you would keep this program in place past 2025.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And we will work as best we can to find funding, grants, whatever, for the full-time employees. Yeah.
Possibly see if we can be small. That's all I.
Right, right.
And
Understood.
I heard her now it's the fact that she would not, but I wanted to make sure
Thank you.
that
Yes.
the rest of the board was saying the same thing as the supervisor.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And no, absolutely. I mean, I really do. And I really appreciate everybody's heartfelt.
I just didn't want to
So,
see that whole scenario happen when you say, I
Yeah.
said we would, but it still got voted down. So now
No,
all
I hear you.
5 of the voting members have said
Yes.
on record. So now at least if it gets to that vote, then we
Okay.
can, I guess if
Yep.
it passes, then great on everybody. If it fails, then well, somebody felt it.
And definitely come to the public hearing when the budget happens
That's great.
to keep us, keep us
Mhm.
in line. Let us do it. Yeah.
Safety of children is my top priority. So that's. where
Very
I'm at.
good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mhm.
You served in the NYPD, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you take an oath for that, correct?
Yes, I do.
To serve and
Mhm.
protect. So I don't even understand like any of this is even a question, because you should know the duty is to serve and protect. And if you are putting the budget of trucks with those little box things on the back that you said, if you are putting all of that above the safety of our children, then this is a problem, and you maybe that oath didn't hear.
Okay, now we have to move on. I do thank everybody for their comments, but we do have to move on to the rest of the meeting because we have stuff that we have to vote on. Mhm. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute intermission. Mhm. Nothing. No, it's no problem.
This was all like, you're gonna be talking about the rest of the night.
No, yeah, there's no votes in terms of that.
Don't short yourself.
Yeah, there's no votes on that agenda.
I'm gonna open it now.
Thank you.
And I tried to say, I tried to show.
Mhm. Mhm.
I had a record. I've been here with the past one. And- I didn't-
Good, how are you? 1 month.
But I must. I just want to think. When someone covers these board meetings, a lot of people have. And I'm primary, so it's supposed to be. I came in, because I came in. From my standpoint, I actually know. Because you must have been in there. Because I can pull up Google timeline, I can show when I got here. They were doing meeting minutes too. Because you're having. I mean, as soon as I saw them, make sure I didn't leak it free. Yes. There's two skinny doors, you want that second and I sent him an reply when he tried to get out of what is that? I should make sure that fix that section. Realized I couldn't really.
I didn't want okay. Appreciate yourself before you got there. You didn't do it. You actually didn't build it up more than 2 years. Yeah. Things tell us.
Okay, so that's I'm freaking. You're very good. Very.
Can we reboot for the meeting, please?
Somebody. Bail it in to help out and give you advice.
Okay, Glenn? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're missing. Yeah.
It's okay.
How you doing? We haven't.
Thank you. That's okay. That's okay.
I will ask
You know, create.
I didn't think.
I told him I would.
Hi.
Last night. Yeah, it was so. I just figured that. This is clear cut. Where do I live? I didn't want to fund it. Clear cutting trees to put in a solar farm. Who does that? Who does? You know, I run the turbines too. I know it's a little, you know. We're gonna go. You know, when I said that last night.
It's a long day.
Oh, it's obvious.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't have it. He didn't have it. Especially.
It's over there.
He knows the level. You know, it's interesting. Early in the technology.
So I just want to.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I love that. It's trying to segue into my support. I was trying to segue into my support. I mean, wait, so. Yeah, I wore it for a reason. I just was cold. It was frustrating.
Yeah.
The whole incident, and no, it's a major thing too. It's like, hey, just because I've had this. You did say, you had to leave at some time.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I gotta find my.
Deborah.
report.
All right, back to business.
Okay, we're reconvening the meeting for the substance.
Huh? I can put it in the-
Mhm.
Oh, wait, I can't take it. I'm not taking yours. No, I can't give it back.
The recorder is on.
Thank you. Okay, so we're reconvening the meeting after the little break. So we will start with, we don't have any resolutions or motions, so we're gonna go right to Public Works. Len, do you have anything?
Public Works, yes. There's a request from Scott Groats, Water and Wastewater Superintendent, for the town board to approve contracting with Hanson Van Fleet PLLC for phase one of a hydrogeologic investigation with future District 4 water supply. The budget line item has been W8310-4000 in an amount not to exceed $3,600. And this is just to do an investigation to see what the water systems are like in that district for a future District 4 water supply.
Yeah, it's to find another, a new well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, motion to approve?
So.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, it carries. And finances, Sue?
Request to pay $410 for Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce annually membership dues for 2024.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And it carries. And, Len, again, personnel?
Yes, I ask for authorization for Jeremiah Bernard to be appointed provisionally to the position of Senior Park Technician in the Parks Department effective February 26, 2024. Mr. Barnard will be paid the CSEA blue collar rate of $33.85 per hour. He is being promoted from within, has done exceptional work in the past, and we feel he will be a very good senior park technician for this. for the
Okay,
town.
thank you.
So I would make that motion.
Okay, second,
Second motion.
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, carried. Okay, Glenn, is that still you?
We also have a request from Vern Myers, town engineer, for the town board to review the special permit application to operate a commercial recreation venue in an industrial district, 2220 Vestal Road. BCTM number 158.09-1-16. If agreed, please approve advertising on March 8th, 2024 for a public hearing on March 27, 2024. This is a building down off of Vestal Road that was initially put in a industrial zoned area because they're doing more warehousing than anything else, but they're doing some manufacturing. And they want to sublet part of their building out to a climbing facility. So we want to have a public hearing on that. So this is to approve a public hearing for that happen to be discussed.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, carried. And next one?
There's also a request from Vern Myers, town engineer, for the town board to review and act on SEQR for Main Street Bridge over Choconet Creek replacement project. That bridge is getting very old and it does need to be replaced before it fails. So we need to review that SEQR on that project. It's not approving any spending, just a review.
Okay. Mhm.
Can I add to that one?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. So, so Vern's not here, but for this resolution, we really ought to, go through the part two and then move, for a negative declaration. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is go through part two, and then the supervisor will essentially make the motion. Okay. So why don't we go through these? You've probably seen them. This is kind of a specific look at whether or not there is going to be a significant adverse impact on the environment. So there's 11 questions. I think you've all got them before you. Number one is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? And Vern's, with each one of these, Vern has indicated his opinion that there's either a small impact or no impact at all. And has indicated it's not a significant impact. The second factor that we're going to look at is, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of the land? The third is, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? The fourth, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area, a CEA? The fifth criteria is, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affecting existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? Sixth factor, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? The seventh criteria, will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? The eighth factor, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Ninth factor, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? For example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora,
fauna. 10th factor, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? 11th factor, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? Again, with respect to these 11 factors, we are to consider those and take into account Vern's recommendation. Having read all of those factors and proposed those, well, now I'm going to give the language to the supervisor to read. And essentially, that's a proposal to act on a recommendation of a negative declaration. So go ahead, Supervisor.
Okay, once again, it pertains to just the replacement of the Main Street Bridge. So it's one bridge for another, no major changes and no additional significant environmental impact or any of the seeker assessments. So based upon a review and examination of the known facts relating to the action and its careful review of all potentially adverse environmental impacts and the entire record and proceedings relating to the action as of the date of the adoption of this resolution, including but not limited to information included on the project's short environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, information provided by the applicant, involved and interested agency input and public input. The board finds that the action will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Okay.
So I would see if everyone's in favor.
Okay, so motion to approve,
Make the motion to approve.
seconded. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so it's carried. Okay, next one.
11.1.3, request from Lincoln Ellis, Code Enforcement Officer, for the town board approval to advertise on March 8th, 2024 for a public hearing on March 7th, 2024. The public hearing will be on proposed local law A revisions to the Code of Town of Vestal as indicated in the addendum. This does, I just want to make note, happen on the same day as the previous request from Vern Myers to have a public hearing. I'm not sure it's a good idea to have both hearings on the same date.
We've done that in the past.
I just don't know if it's in the public's best interest to have to come to two. We might not get enough public input if they have to go to two. I'm just putting that out there.
So do you want to recommend that we table it for now?
I would recommend tabling it until we can
Okay.
talk to Mr. Ellis and see if he can pick another date.
Okay, very good. So we'll table that one for now. Okay, next one.
11.1.4, request from Lincoln Ellis, Code Enforcement Officer, for town board approval to dispose of a department vehicle, a 2008 Ford Ranger, at auction, and requesting that any proceeds from the sale be used toward the purchase of a new vehicle for the code department in the 2025 budget cycle. And I'd like to put that to a vote.
Okay, very good. And motion to approve,
Motion.
seconded,
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Now,
Okay.
before we move on to 12, I'd like to go back to
Mhm.
page 1, 2.1, motion approving the January 24th, 2024 minutes of the regular meeting of the town board.
Oh,
I'm not sure we did that.
thank you very much. Okay.
Yep.
Jump back to the approval of the minutes. So motion approving the January 24th, 2024 minutes of the regular meeting of the town board. Just Deborah, do we have a question? Does that include the typographical error? on the amount?
was on the work session, minutes.
Okay, it didn't have that error on it.
Yep.
Okay, there was just a typo in terms of a dollar amount on there. So, it wasn't that meeting. So all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Well, I think it, did you make a motion?
No, but I'll make a motion to accept the meeting.
And I'll
Sorry.
second that
I
motion.
apologize. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Carrie, thank you very much. And thank you for catching me.
I have to thank a member of the public who pointed it out to me. Left.
Okay, so there's nothing on public safety unless Sue, do you have something else?
I do. Public safety on Friday, January 26th. I was in the hallway at Town Hall when I heard someone by the front door yelling for help. Town Clerk Deborah Wallace and Deputy Clerk Sarah Maney ran out the front door to find a woman lying on the ground because she had fallen and could not get up. Deputy Clerk Maney sat on the ground so that the woman can lay her head on Sarah's knee, and Clerk Wallace ran in to call the police. As I ran to my car to get a blanket, the police arrived and called EMS, who transported the resident. The resident called the office to thank the employees for their assistance and report that she had broken her hip. She was very grateful for the quote unquote above and beyond service received by the clerk's office. I too wish to extend my thanks. And I think Robert also has a report.
Thank you.
Yes,
You did a great
on February 5th, we had the fire department meeting. It was very successful and we went over how we become a fire district there. So the officers and the people in charge, like Tom, have been doing a lot of good work to help make the fire district a great thing, including creating better auditing, tracking, more training so that we can get an even better rating, get our insurance rating even lower, so we can save taxpayers money. And other things, the fire commissioners will eventually be taking on the role and doing a bit more responsibilities, and so will the assistant chiefs. And we went through a lot of the new ways we will be doing things, including who is in charge of which area from Assistant Fire Chief 1 through 4. You have to forgive me, I can't give the exact specifics right now, but they broke the work down amongst themselves to make it evenly divided with backups. So they're doing a great job of setting up a fire district and moving forward and being responsible as an independent entity. It was a wonderful presentation. Oh, yes. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. Yes, it was a wonderful award ceremony. They had all the officers at once take their oath. And we had a great time with that. And Fire Station 2 provided the food, which we were all thankful for. And they were even interrupted in the middle of prepping for that the day before. So when I showed up to a fire call in 5 minutes from my house, they were already gone. So that's a dedication we have. They were already there and went on call, stopped the food prep, put it away, and went out to handle a call. So it was a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reports, both of you. So Glenn, on you again for administration?
Yes, 1311, request from Charisse Weisner Rosales, Museum Director, to accept a donation of $84.34 to the Vestal Museum from Mary Sonen's Girl Scout Gold Award proceeds. So I would like to put that to the vote to accept that donation.
Okay, motion. Okay, seconded.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it's carried.
And 13.1.2, request from Michael Herman, Vestal Public Library Director, to use a portion of the town-owned parking lot located at 320 Vestal Parkway East on Saturday, April 20, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a drive-through community document shredding event. He is also requesting that the town provide cones to help direct traffic during that time. Fire lanes at front and rear of the parking lot will be kept unobstructed for town vehicles. So I'd like to put that to a vote to allow them to use that part of the town-owned parking lot.
So moved.
And
Second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And it's
And,
carried.
and I will see if I can contact Mr. Herman myself to let him know that that's been approved, and to see, I suppose also the police department too. I'm not sure if them or Public Works who would have cones to help direct traffic, but I'll track that down.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so motion, so we have the items to receive. So, um, Robert, you want to do that one?
Receive and file, we have warrants 2024-03, 04, 04A, 04L, 05, 05A, 05B. We also have 239 submission Village of Endicott and Town Clerk Monthly Report for January 2024.
Okay, motion to accept,
Make motion.
seconded?
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so it's carried. Okay, no petitions and old business. Anybody have anything under old business that we haven't gotten to yet? Okay, and then we have new business. Okay, the first one is authorization for Mary Louise Thane, a senior, Chenango Valley High School, to be assigned to the town court as part of the BOCES New Vision Law and Government Academy. Each placement to be for 4 weeks, beginning March 5th, 2024, and ending March 27th. She will not receive any compensation. It is anticipated that Ms. Thane will observe in the court on Tuesdays and Wednesdays between the hours of 8 and 11 a.m. She may also observe in other town departments as circumstances arise. Ms. Thane will be required to submit a Broome County employment application and a non-disclosure form. Okay, the courts requested and approved her, so they definitely want her to participate with that. So motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 So that's carried. Okay, next one is authorization to appoint current police captain Christopher Strano to the position of police chief effective February 29, 24 at the annual salary of $133,900. The methodology used to calculate salary and benefits for the position of police chief, as stated in resolutions 37511 and 077-18, will continue. Motion to approve,
I'll make motion to approve.
seconded,
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 And it's carried. Okay, also with that is authorization for the waiver of resolution 348-09 regarding the police chief. This action applies to Christopher Strano only and does not rescind resolution 348-09 or the residency requirement for future police chiefs. Basically, it waives the residency required for this candidate who has been with the department. This will be his 28th year. So.
And why are we rescinding that? Why are we doing this?
Because he lives in the town of Vestal, outside of Vestal.
He lives in Binghamton.
I'm sorry, town of Binghamton,
Okay.
just
Thank you.
outside of Vestal, but he lives close and will respond. But he's been with this department for, this is his 28th year, I believe. So motion to approve
So moved.
and seconded,
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one is the request from Nicholas Angeline, Town Controller for the Town of Board, to authorize him to sign a renewal agreement with Excelis with the following recommendations. The first point is to renew the stop loss contract with the specific deductible of $125,000 at the cost of $168.71 per contract per month. This is an increase of 4.6% over the current year and is less than the increase budgeted. Second point is renew the plan administration contract with a 2.9% increase to the rate of $80.55 per contract per month. This is a typical increase. And the third point is accept the increase in the amount of cash advanced to Excelis given the increase in medical claims. Now, this was just the renewal of the medical coverage for the town employees. So motion to adopt
So moved.
and second.
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 And it's carried. Okay, does anybody have anything further before we adjourn? Okay, move to adjourn.
So moved.
And
Seconded.
very good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we adjourn at 19:59, 7:59.
So we are adjourned, yes?
Yeah.